Hello and welcome into a brand new edition of High School Roundup. I'm your host, Stephen Ruffing, and for once, alongside of me is Anthony D'Agostino and Daniel Beck. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I mean, I heard Daniel Beck Jr., but, it's whatever.
So it was a great week of football, and there are some great wins and hard-fought wins. Overtime. First overtime that we've seen this year, so and at least on CUTV. So that was really cool to see.
Right, and we did, in fact, have an overtime game. That was Baldwin in Connellsville. That was our game of the week. And, Danny, you have the highlights for us.
I do have the highlights for you guys. And, once we get into these highlights, you'll see it was pouring, like literally the entire game. So these kids had to deal with some tough field conditions. It was a turf field, so they still had a little bit of footing that they could get used to. But we'll go right into these highlights. And as I said, just a soggy game out there today. And on this run here, Noah Karpiak with a huge run on the outside. He's going to get his name called a lot tonight. This will set up the first touchdown of the game with quarterback Dylan Harshman. He's just going to run right through the middle and get a nice little quarterback sneak there to put Connellsville on the board. And then Baldwin is going to answer right back with quarterback Glenn Ford, who is making moves all around the pocket as he goes left, and then Connellsville tries pressuring him. He goes around to the outside and just high steps into the end zone there. A little bit fancy into the end zone. And then another one for Connellsville. Noah Karpiak is going to answer right back with another big run. Same run as last time, but this time he finds pay dirt as he goes 33 yards for the touchdown. And then Baldwin with Glenn Ford, he's just that guy for Baldwin. He's going to make some moves around the outside, find some holes, and just exploit them to the best of his advantage. And he's going to get a touchdown here with a 48-yard run, again high-stepping into the end zone. So Baldwin answering right back, going back and forth with Connellsville, and then Noah Karpiak just shedding people off, breaking arm tackles. That rain could have really helped him. He get a little bit of an advantage, but he broke that one there on a 44-yard run to extend the Falcons' lead now to 7. Then Glenn Ford to actually throw the ball here over to Aaron Novak, wide open in the end zone to tie it at 21 late in the third quarter. And right here, you're going to see Baldwin trying to answer back as you see the rain all over that camera, and it's just going to be short hitting the field goal post there. And then Baldwin would get the ball first in overtime and elect to go on offense, and they would get with Brody McLean into the end zone. And then Connellsville just trying to throw this ball into the end zone just out of the reach of his intended receiver, and that is how the game will end as Baldwin then intercepted the ball from Connellsville on the next play. So Baldwin, as you said, Anthony, tough-fought games this week, and that was our first one that we saw.
Yeah, and a lot of people picked Baldwin in our CUTV pick'em, and it was a hard-fought win. I didn't know who was going to win that game because it honestly looked like Connellsville should pull away with the victory because of their running game. Baldwin just kept trying to pass the ball in the rain, and they couldn't pass in this rain, except for that one time where he was wide open, was able to make the catch. But Connellsville looked like the better team that day. Baldwin just answered in the right time.
Right, and you said something about going through the air. Both teams had a fantastic running game on both sides. You couldn't take it away from both teams played very well. And we're actually going to go right into the Big East scoreboard. We have Franklin Regional and Penn Trafford, 21-16. Franklin Regional wins. It's a huge game. And then, of course, we have Gateway and Plum. Gateway won 44-6. But Anthony, check out this Franklin Regional and Penn Trafford game.
Yeah, that was a huge, big win for Franklin Regional. Penn Trafford looked to be like a good team, but the Panthers picked up their 4th consecutive win, and Nate Leopold scored 2 touchdowns for Franklin Regional in a game that could have went either way.
Yeah, and that just shows how good this Franklin Regional team is. I guess they're legit, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Armstrong winning big over Latrobe, and McKeesport also winning big over Kiski. And Danny, this McKee, of course, we've seen that Armstrong game, 69-16. I'll let you break that down with your dude, Dudek.
Yeah, also, Zane Dudek broke the Whippeal regular season rushing record and became the 5th rusher in Whippeal history to reach 6,000 career yards. So just all kudos to Zane Dudek. And I said it before and I've said it again, he's that dude for this Armstrong team.
Yeah, and we're going to look into the Big East standings now. McKeesport on top right now, followed by Armstrong and Gateway slowly making their way up, and Kiski falls down to fourth place. Anthony, what do you see out of this Big East?
This Big East conference is the best conference that we cover right now in terms of standings-wise. It's all over the place. Right now, you don't know who's making the playoffs, and that's what I love about high school football. Right now, you have no idea who is going to make the playoffs. It could be anyone. There's about 5 teams up top that have a good chance of possibly making the playoffs. It's crazy right now.
Right, and Danny, who do you think's going to come out on top on this in the Big East?
I'm going to mention Armstrong because Armstrong, they have that tough runner back there. And I also have to mention that Zane Dudek has 31 touchdowns on the season. So when you have a runner in the backfield like that for Armstrong, I just think that he's just going to exploit defenses, and I hope Armstrong comes out of this conference.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a close one. And we're going to move right along to the Tri-County South scoreboard. Mapletown over Jeff Morgan 26-20, and Fort Cherry over Valley 55-7. Danny, we're going to talk about this Mapletown Jeff Morgan. It was a close one there.
Yeah, even went into overtime, and Dylan Rush had 39 carries for 255 yards, and his 4th touchdown came in overtime for the Maples. And Rush now has run for 1,633 yards on 240 attempts. So that rushing game for Mapletown is huge.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Anthony.
I wonder why, if his last name being Rush, he was born to be a running back.
Yeah, sometimes that just works out. Of course, his last name's Rush, and of course he's a running back. That sometimes things just do work out. And then we're gonna move along to the next one, or Tri-County South. Carmichael is over California 33-17, and that was a big one for Carmichael's, just showing us that they are legit. Anthony, what did you see out of this one?
Yeah, Brandon Pelzer scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to help the Carmichael's Mighty Mikes hang on. Conditions were a huge factor in that game. It was rainy all over Western PA last Friday, but California, you let me down. I thought you'd beat Carmichael's. You didn't. A little upset, but it's all good.
Yeah, that was a close one, and we are going to go to the non-conference. Northgate over Monessen 34-6, and West Green 26-14 over Leechburg. Danny, what did you see out of this West Green?
Yeah, and also Monessen, they can't really answer back, but we're going to get into the West Green. Zach Pettit rushed for 240 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. So it seems like when it rains, these teams go to the rushing attack, and it worked for a lot of the teams that actually really focused on that, because we're going to be saying these rushing attempts for these teams this past week at least it was a big factor in every single game that they faced off against.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. And into the standings here, Carmichael's and Fort Cherry fighting for that number 1 spot, and California falling behind on that one.
Yeah, Carmichael's doing. We saw kind of Carmichael's last year, not as high up in the rankings, and they had a good team, but now you can really see that with a year under their belt, they're up and now in first place. And they're a force to be reckoned with now. I think Fort Cherry possibly has the upper hand over Carmichael's if and when they play each other.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge conference there. And we're going to go into the Century scoreboard now as Brownsville falls to Fraser 33-0. Sorry, Gary Smith. We were all pulling for Brownsville. And Washington up big over Bentworth 47-14. And we're going to take a look at the next one, both big games. And Shark Houston up on Charleroi 14-6, and Best Center falling to Burgettstown 28-0. Anthony, look at this Shark Houston, another close one we see.
Yeah, very close game. Both touchdowns for the Bucks came on interceptions. A.J. Myers opened the scoring with a 70-yard interception return to teammate Spencer Turling. Returned an errant Cougars pass 30 yards for the second score. So Shark Houston winning on defense, that's something you don't see very often. Usually you see at least some offensive scoring, but not here.
Yeah, it's another big defensive game. Something, like you said, we don't see much in the WPIAL. And we're going to go to the Century standings now. Shark Houston and Washington both, again, fighting for that first place spot. Danny, who do you think is going to come out on top?
Washington seems always just to be that dominant team, And now with these realignments and all that stuff, I still think that Washington's going to come out on top of this conference.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Anthony, any words on that
No,
conference?
I think I agree, but we'll take a look at the schedule. There's some big games coming up in the schedule, but that's going to be later in the show. Washington and Charlotte Houston are going to be battling for that top place.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting as we're coming down to the playoffs. But we're going to take our first break here. Up next, we have South Union Township highlights, Quad A and Triple A scores, and Quad A and Triple A standings. Stick with us here on High School Roundup on CUTV.
CUTV's High School Football Game of the Week. Springdale at Jeff Morgan. Avella at California. Bell Vernon at Ringgold. Greensburg Central Catholic at Charleroi. Waynesburg at Southmoreland. Baldwin at Connellsville. Beth Center at Brownsville. Fraser at Bentwood. Bishop Canavan at Carmichael. The longest running high school coverage in southwestern PA is on CUTV.
CUTV News Center is California University of Pennsylvania's award-winning student television newscast. Your source for live, local, late-breaking news. Forecasts from the CalU Weather Center. The region's latest entertainment news. Vulcan sports highlights and regional scoreboards with television news coverage you can't get anywhere else. Watch it live Thursdays on CUTV and on demand. CUTV News Center. Online all the time.
Hello, welcome back to High School Roundup. I'm Stephen Ruffing. And Anthony, we're going to get right into the South Union Township highlights. We had West Mifflin take on Laurel Highlands.
Yeah, West Mifflin, a dominant team. Laurel Highlands hasn't gotten a win yet, trying to get a win over West Mifflin at Mustang Field. We're going to go right into the highlights now. And you see there, Laurel Highlands, West Mifflin, shaking hands, getting ready for the coin toss. But to start off the first half, it's going to be a kickoff from Laurel Highlands. And West Mifflin's Darnell Carey is going to get the ball, fumble it a little bit, pick it up there, and he's got some room to run now. He cuts it up to the inside. He's got plenty of green space. He's got one man to beat, cuts it inside, and he's going to be home for the touchdown on a 93-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That was the opening kickoff that happened. And then West Mifflin again looking to pass here. Brody Belante gets the 12-yard pass from Gary Goliath. What a catch there, diving to make the play. And then Laurel Highlands punting the ball, almost blocked. West Mifflin is going to try to return the punt here, but it's going to bounce right at Dorian Johnson for West Mifflin, and he can return it now. He cuts it to the inside now, breaking some tackles. Again, arm tackling for Laurel Highlands doesn't get you anywhere, and he is going to make one man miss here and go 80 yards for that punt return for a touchdown. Dorian Johnson, what a play there. End of the first, West Mifflin up 41-0. And then West Mifflin again. This is Reed on the play. Cutting it to the outside with his speed. No one is going to touch him. It's a 76-yard touchdown run for West Mifflin's Reed. And then West Mifflin on Laurel Highlands now on offense. A fumble on the play. It's going to be picked up there by KJ Sampson, and he is going to run it back for a 50-yard fumble return for a touchdown. What a heads-up play there by KJ Sampson. Halftime, West Mifflin 62-0. Laurel Highlands now trying to make something happen. Malik Ramsey making some people miss here. What a run here by Malik Ramsey for a 67-yard touchdown run. And the final score in this game, West Mifflin dominating Laurel Highlands 62-21. West Mifflin now 5-0 and 7-0. Laurel Highlands 0-5 and 0-7.
Yeah, this Laurel Highlands team, they looked pretty solid in the beginning of the year, and then of course they're in a tough conference, and they're going to have some building years to come. And we're going to actually go into the Big 9 scoreboard here. Uniontown falling to Ringgold big 36-7, and Bell Vernon and Trinity, that was another close one. Bell Vernon winning 21-15. Danny, why don't you talk about this one?
Bell Vernon was down 15-7 in the fourth quarter, and Tim Labuda returned an interception, 47 yards for a touchdown, and Mike Fine also ran in the ensuing two-point conversion to tie the score, and later in the quarter he scored the winning touchdown, a 1-yard run. So Trinity just they were up big, 15-7. Then they got unanswered points, 14 unanswered points on them, and Bell Vernon got the victory in that one. That was huge.
Yeah, it was a pretty big game. Bell Vernon keeps their strong season going, and we're going to look here. Greensburg-Salem big over Albert Gallatin, 36-8, and we're going to go to Quad A non-conference. Thomas Jefferson big on Mars. A lot of us, we expected this to happen. TJ keep their perfect season going. So we're going to go into the Big 9 standings. Bell Vernon, number 1 right now. West Mifflin and TJ close behind there, guys.
Wow, this conference, we talked about the Big East Conference being big, but Big 9, 3 teams that are basically tied for first, and it can go down to the wire between these 3 teams. Who's going to make it to first place?
And you, Steve, when you were talking about this, when TJ has to play West Mifflin, that game is going to be seismic. It's going to be Sports Center top 10 plays in there. We're going to see some of those. I'm not going to say that it was as big as the Clareton Aliquippa game, but it's going to be huge.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When TJ starts playing Bell Vernon, when they start playing West Mifflin, those standings are going to start changing. So we're going to see those getting mixed up. And we're going to go right into the interstate conference. We're going to look at their scoreboards. Derry and Mount Pleasant. Derry 34-14 over Mount Pleasant in Southmoreland and McGuffey. McGuffey comes away with the win, 28-12. But Anthony, check out this Derry team. They're legit.
Derry team, as Scott Majeski said, they're going to keep their streak going when he picked Derry. Tyler Baega carried 29 times for 205 yards and scored 3 second-half touchdowns to help Derry their first season-opening 7-game winning streak since 1983. And this Derry team is for real this year, Steve.
Yeah, and that, of course, Tyler Balega paving the path for them, and then we're going to go right into the next set of scoreboards. Elizabeth Forward and York. Elizabeth Forward wins 20-18. South Park beat Waynesburg 27-0. Danny, check out this Elizabeth Forward team.
Yeah, and I also mentioned when we're in the broadcast how three-dimensional these players are. They play on special teams, they play on offense and defense. Steve Marinick was that guy for Elizabeth Forward as he passed for a touchdown, rushed for a touchdown, and returned an interception for a touchdown to help the Warriors. Yak mounted a furious 3-touchdown fourth-quarter rally, but potential tying 2-point conversion rush was stopped. So these three-dimensional players, they just help all of these teams. I don't really see that much out by me in the East. And, coming out here, seeing these all-around athletes helping their team to get a victory.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Forward, they have those players. And we're going to look at the interstate standings here. Derry stays on top. Mount Pleasant is following behind there. Derry, Anthony, do you think that Derry can keep this up?
They're first place. I think they're basically locked in the first place, barring anything happening. But it's now going to be who else is going to make the playoffs, who's going to get that second place spot. That still is up in the air. We'll see what happens moving on in the further schedules.
Yeah, Danny, did they keep this undefeated season? What do they do?
It's the Tyler Baega show. It honestly is, and he's going to help his team get this victory. I don't, like Anthony said, I don't see him losing.
Yeah, and I might have to agree with you guys on that one, but we're going to take another quick break here. And up next, we have our upcoming schedules, our favorites, the pick'ems, and the top 3 plays. Please stick with us here on High School Roundup on CUTV.
Since 1937, the Student Association Incorporated, known as SAI, has served the CalU student body by providing activities, programs, and services. Every enrolled student has the ability to take part in over 125 different clubs and organizations. Managing participation in every SAI activity is easy with OrgSync, a powerful tool for staying connected. Located 1 mile from campus, the SAI farm has 94 acres of meeting and recreational space. SAI, it's your student association. For almost 30 years, CUTV has been the campus and community home for local news, sports, and entertainment. Broadcast in 100,000 homes in southwestern Pennsylvania, CUTV provides complete coverage of Vulcan sports as well as high school football coverage. Broadcast weekly live, CUTV News Center provides coverage of local and campus events, weekend weather, sports highlights, and feature stories. For more information on CUTV, check us out on the web, friend us on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter.
Welcome back into High School Roundup. We're going to take a look here at the Tri-County South schedules. We have Carmichael's at Jeff Morgan, Mapletown at Fort Cherry, West Green at Monessen, California at Rochester, Riverview at Avella. And guys, this Carmichael's team, they're facing Jeff Morgan. They have a chance to keep their winning streak going.
Yeah, I think Carmichael's definitely going to beat Jeff Morgan. Their Carmichael's team is really good this year, one of the best in Tri-County South this year.
And we're going to take a look at the Century schedule now. Washington at Shar Houston, Beth Center at Brownsville, and non-conference, Bentworth at Waynesburg, Charleroi at Burgettstown, and Fraser at Amani Christian. We're going to look at our game of the week, Danny. Beth Center at Brownsville.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for that one as I'm going home. But, Brownsville, see if they can answer and see if they can really pull out this tough victory against the Beth Center team. But unfortunately, I'm just going to have to watch the replay of that one.
Yeah, and it's going to be a close one, hopefully. And we're going to take a look at the interstate schedule. South Park at McGuffey, Mount Pleasant at Yawk, Southmoreland at Elizabeth Forward in the non-conference, Derry at Elwood City, Bentworth at Waynesburg. And Anthony, Derry, can they keep it up here?
I think they can. It's not going to matter much because it's a non-conference game, but it's just to see if they can continue their win streak and continue to go undefeated. Hopefully, they win, and I don't think even if they do win, they shouldn't fall in the standings because they'll still be 5-0 in conference.
Right.
So they should still be at first place, even if other teams win in that conference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, though.
Yeah, and we're going to move into the Big Nine schedule. Ringgold at West Mifflin, Uniontown at Laurel Highlands, Bell Vernon at Thomas Jefferson, Trinity at Albert Gallatin, and the non-conference is Montour at Greensburg Salem. Of course, we have our South Union Township game, Uniontown at Laurel Highlands. But Danny, this Bell Vernon team, they get a shot at Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, and Bell Vernon, if they want to keep their season alive, they really have to take this victory from Thomas Jefferson. I don't know, TJ just looks like a strong team this year. I don't know what's going to happen in that one.
This is a show-me-something week for Bell Vernon and Thomas Jefferson. Both of them big conference players and teams in this Big Nine conference. But Bell Vernon, Thomas Jefferson, I really don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson, always a powerhouse team. Bell Vernon, a powerhouse team this year. Anyway, it could go either way, Steve.
Yeah, and it's going to be so cool to see it's crazy to think one of these teams are going to come out with a loss. So we're going to go into the Big East schedule. Penn Trafford at Armstrong, Franklin Regional at Latrobe, Gateway at Kiski, Connellsville at Plum, and the non-conferences McKeesport at Upper St. Clair. And Anthony, we're going to look at the Penn Trafford and Armstrong game.
Yeah, this is a big week for Penn Trafford. They need to be able to come away with this victory. They fell a lot in the standings with that loss this past week. It's going to be important to see if they can come away with this victory and their defense can stop that dude, Zane Dudek.
Yeah, and I think Armstrong's going to continue their winning ways. But let's go right into our Pick'em schedules here. We have the Pick'em standings. Scott Majeski and Gary Smith both went 6-0 this week. Gary Smith making his way up, but Scott is still leading the table. And as you see down,
who's that guy on the bottom?
That is Jody Highroller, who none of his picks ever pay off. Danny, you went 5-1, and Zach, he also went 6-0. And that mid-table there, you see Matt Hagee went 5-1, Clinton Logan 4-2, and Anthony, you also went 4-2. So everyone except that last place scrub did pretty well, pretty well in our pick'ems this week. So we're gonna go into our pick'em games now. West Green at Monessen. Danny and Anthony, you both picked West Green. Anthony, what's your case here?
West Green, I just think is a better team than Monessen. I mean, Monessen could show us that they can win, but West Green so far they're riding their hot streak. I think they're going to ride it all the way into Monessen and come with the victory.
Yeah, and Danny, same reason.
That was kind of harsh saying. West Green is just a better team, but yeah, I agree. West Green, Monessen can't really answer this season. It seems like they can't get started, can't get these decisive wins. So I'm going to go with West Green on this one.
Yeah, and I actually picked West Green also, but Best Center at Brownsville is our next one. And no surprise here, everyone picked Beth Center except our director, Gary Smith, who is born and raised in Brownsville. So
he's obligated to pick Brownsville.
Right, exactly. He almost has to. I think he's under contract. But we're going to go into the next game, South Park at McGuffey. And Jody High Roller there. South Park, of course, I picked the only one. I was the only one that picked South Park.
But why?
Because you gotta take risks, man. Yeah, I mean, but South Park, they are a pretty strong team, and McGuffey had some pretty crazy losses so far this season. So maybe they can fall again and give me a pick 'em win. But so we're gonna go into Bell Vernon and Thomas Jefferson, and this also surprised me. Gary Smith picked Bell Vernon.
Maybe trying to make some moves up in the standings there, but I honestly think this could go either way. Thomas Jefferson, you already said that Thomas Jefferson is the better, looks like to be the better team. Bell Vernon just can't beat Thomas Jefferson, but I don't know. Bell Vernon may be that good this year. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I think Thomas Jefferson's going to come away with this one. Of course, all three of us, Danny, you also picked it, and so we're going to see what goes on. So we're going to move on to Penn Trafford at Armstrong, and Matt, Gary, and Zach all picked Penn Trafford, but Danny, this whole season, you have been saying otherwise.
Yeah, and I can see Penn Trafford coming away with the victory here if they can lock down on Zane Dudek. And since he's that decisive guy for this team, if Penn Trafford can utilize their defense and really lock down on him, I'm not really going against Matt, Gary, and Zach's picks because
Right.
if they do that, they can get the win.
And we've already seen Armstrong take a loss because Zane Dudek didn't have a great game.
Yeah, and it could happen again. It could happen again.
Yeah, very well could.
Yeah.
But our last pick'em game is McKeesport at Upper St. Clair. Scott Majeski, he's been the top dog so far this season. He's the only one picking McKeesport. But Anthony, why'd you pick Upper St. Clair?
Well, I'm kind of scared that Scott Majeski's picking other teams here. I mean, so far he knows what he's doing. But I mean, Upper St. Clair is just a big powerhouse team. They've won a lot of state championships before. And it's a non-conference game, and it's at Upper St. Clair. I think Upper St. Clair can blow with that.
Yeah, I agree. Upper St. Clair, I just think has more numbers than McKeesport. And we're gonna go right into our top three plays. Danny, you have number 3.
I do, and we're going to start off with my highlights, actually, and it's going to be Baldwin, led by their star quarterback, Glenn Ford, right here. He's going to take one up the side and break this one for a 48-yard run, huge run, and right there, high-stepping into the end zone yet again.
And number 2, we're going to Laurel Highlands, West Mifflin. It's going to be West Mifflin's pass from Gary Gallios. Brody Belante diving catch there for the number 2 play. What a play there.
And number 1, Dorian Johnson has no business of taking this punt. It bounces back to him. He let it bounce a little bit, but he takes it anyway. And he's going to shimmy his way through the middle of the field, breaking tackles left and right. He had all the Mustangs over him. One person to beat, a big block there, as he is home free to score the touchdown. And that, of course, was our number 1. Can it take the blue ribbon play of the week? Yes, it can. Dorian Johnson overthrows the former blue ribbon play, as well deserved here. Look at him. We're going to take a look at it again. Breaking tackles left and right. And if anything, this might be our blue ribbon play so far the rest of the season, I think. Just as you see, he makes his way into the end zone. So that was our top 3 plays. Big blue ribbon play. And here we have the CUTV High School Football Game of the Week this week. Beth Center at Brownsville. It's going to be a showdown at Brownville's field. Guys, what do you think is your prediction for this game?
Beth Center is going to come in on Brownsville's senior night, and they're going to come away with this pretty big victory, I think, and barring any miracles.
Yeah. And that's tough, scheduling a senior night on a game like that when they have to take on a tough Beth Center team. But hopefully Brownsville can get some motivation and really pull one out of nowhere, really,
right,
and take a victory over Beth Center.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. I think Beth Center's going to take this one. But thanks, guys, for another great show. I was your host, Stephen Ruffing. I had some very great analysts here, Anthony D'Agostino and Danny Beck. Join us next time here on High School Roundup on CUTV.